Sorry for that. Yes, I think we're ready to start. Most of the participants have arrived. So Katia De Luca, there's so many Katia now. I'll let you the floor. I give you the floor.
Thank you, Matilde. Thank you to all of you for being here today with us. Welcome to this online workshop. We are glad to have such a good participation from our members and the enthusiastic participation of our speakers. Thank you. I will take just a few minutes to explain why we decided to work on this topic and to have this online workshop today. And why Cooperatives Europe decided to work on the issues related to gender equality. For sure, we can say that Cooperatives Europe cares about the theme of gender equality as a part of the cooperative action that is made everywhere of inclusion and enhancement of all people. And this is the first aspect. Since the previous mandate, Cooperatives Europe approved the Charter of Commitments on Gender Equality, focusing on the main aspects that sometimes create problems in gender balancing boards, so on governance, of course, but also other issues related to gender equality, gaps in, for example, on economic aspects, on in organization matters, problems of balancing work life and personal or caring situations. So we decided to take care of these aspects and also understand what we can do as an association of cooperatives to support a better gender balance. In this mandate, under the presidency of Susanne Westhausen, we have defined a new strategy for Cooperatives Europe. And we decided to start this work asking members what they consider important and what they consider we have to care about as board and as working groups. So we prepared a survey, a sort of survey, and to name the main needs of members in relation to our function, and the gender equality was indicated as one of the lighthouses. We love this word because it means that we let members to decide what are the points that can give light, that can guide our concrete actions and projects. And so we defined some lighthouses. Gender equality and diversity was one of these lighthouses, together with education and research, and also youth and entrepreneurship. And we consider that these aspects could be really strategic for Cooperatives Europe and in general for cooperation to look at the future and also to make a better and inclusive work in the present. The Gender Equality and Diversity Lighthouse aim at working on this topic from many points of view. Together, we are working on governance, and we are discussing how we can improve the gender balance in governance. But we hope in the future to work also on organization aspects, on data and reporting that can help us to have a clear situation of what is going on in cooperatives and how we can also exchange good practices and way of work for improving, for reduce the gap, for solving the gap, and reducing the obstacles to reach this balance. In our working group, together with board members, board colleagues, and thank you to board colleagues that are also here, that worked on this topic with me, together with Matilde and the Secretariat. And we collected some concerns about the necessity to do more on to improve gender equality on the boards. We asked Mrs. Lansing to be with here today because we are interested in improving our knowledge of the EU gender equality strategy, and especially on the directive on gender balance in corporate boards. That, of course, as first steps is focusing on largest listed companies in Europe, but we are working to be ready also to do more and to improve also in cooperatives. And sometimes this is really challenging. For example, in many sectors where women find some barriers, some obstacles to start some jobs, and then as a consequence to become members of cooperative, and then of course to become directors or to have some higher position. So it's our road to solve the problem that cause the so-called glass ceiling. Glass ceiling is long, but we are trying to join our results, our understanding, our lesson learned, and this is why we decided to have this workshop today and to structure this workshop in these different parts. So a first part in which we want to learn more on a strategy on the steps that the European Commission is moving for that, and the second part in which we want to exchange good practices, try to learn from each other, and also to join to this larger purpose to make our part. And women represent for sure a very important part of energies and skills in Europe. And we want that all gender can be part of a sustainable development. And this is our wish today now. So thank you everyone for joining. I hope that this will be a fruitful meeting for everyone, and I hope also to continue working with you on this topic. I will let the floor again to Mathilde, thanking her for supporting us in managing and facilitating the discussion today.
Thank you, Katia. A great introduction, and important to set a little bit the scene of what Cooperatives Europe is doing. We want now to give the floor to Mrs. Lenzig, who is acting head of unit of the gender equality unit in the European Commission. Yeah, to give you the floor to give a bit of background, as Katia said, on the unit itself, its work, the strategy, the European strategy on gender equality, the directive, its main elements, and why it's important and was important to have this, and what can be changed. So I give you the floor, and let me know if I think you can share your screen as well.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Thank you for the invitation. I'm always happy to promote our strategy and our gender balance directive, especially to businesses. Now let me share my screen. This works. Share. To give you a bit of visual support as well. So the Commission's, can you see the screen?
Yes.
Great. So the gender equality strategy was adopted in March 2020, so shortly after the current Commission took office in December 2019. And President von der Leyen made gender equality really a priority of her Commission. And the reason for that, as she explained it in her political guidelines, is quite simple when you think about it. She says that in business, politics, or society as a whole, we can only reach our full potential if we use all our talent and diversity. So using only half of the population, half the ideas or half the energies is simply not enough. So this is the backdrop against which we adopted this gender equality strategy. Now let me see how I can change that slide. Just a second. To go to the first slide. There we go. It is centered around 3 pillars, which you see there on the screen. Now, being free from violence and stereotypes, thriving in a gender equal economy, and leading equally throughout society. There is gender mainstreaming as a cross-cutting theme. So these 3 priority areas for action are implemented or made a reality through targeted initiatives like our gender balance legislation, and through a strengthened mechanism of gender mainstreaming. And this means integrating a gender perspective into all areas of policy, say in transport, in energy, in agriculture, and so forth. And then we have also the cross-cutting principle of intersectionality, meaning that we take into account the fact that there can be intersecting grounds of discrimination, which make a discrimination experience unique and need to be taken into account. Now, briefly, let me explain what we do under the first pillar, fighting violence and harmful gender stereotypes. Now, in the past 5 years, we have achieved quite a lot in this area, but still, I mean, it is only a start to fight this heinous phenomenon of gender-based violence, which is really all too prevalent in our societies. So the EU acceded to the Istanbul Convention last October. This was really a milestone. The Istanbul Convention is the Council of Europe's convention on combating violence against women and domestic violence. It's the gold standard in international conventions in this area. And we have partly implemented this convention through a directive, which was adopted only last week by the Council, last Tuesday. So a directive on combating violence against women and domestic violence, which criminalizes a number of forms of violence, including cyber violence, and contains provisions on victim support, protection, and the prevention of violence in the first place. What is still outstanding is a code of conduct, so cooperation with platforms, internet platforms, to fight cyber violence. We will do this until the end of 2025. And in the area of stereotypes, we have last year run a campaign, a communications campaign combating harmful gender stereotypes. And we hope that member states will match that kind of initiative, as some of them already do. Now, turning to the second pillar, I've given you some statistics. And let me maybe move this, that you can see the figures better. So this is illustrating the 4 gender gaps we have in the relating to the labor market. We have a pay gap of 13%. This is measuring the average pay per hour. We have an employment gap of about 11%. So where women are less women are employed than men. We have so both the pay and the employment gap culminate into the pension gap, which is huge. It's about 30%, leading to the fact that more women suffer from old age poverty than men. And another aspect that is one of the root causes of these gender gaps is the care gap. that women do 75% of the unpaid care and household work. So what are our actions in this area to improve the situation? Now, we have already back in 2019 adopted the so-called Work-Life Balance Directive, which has been implemented by member states by 2022. Well, at least that was the deadline. We had to write a few letters to remind member states that this was actually work to do. So this directive is introducing paid family leaves and flexible working arrangements for parents and carers. The aim is notably to get more men into the care responsibilities and lead to a better sharing of care work, and which will in turn then allow more women to get into paid employment, notably after a period of family leave. Then we have the directive on binding measures on pay transparency, which you may have heard about, because this is also very relevant for companies, which was adopted in May 2023, so a year ago, and which will need to be implemented within the next couple of years. And a non-binding instrument, a recommendation, is linked to the European Care Strategy. Here we have adopted already in December 2022 a recommendation on improving the provision of childcare, and a parallel recommendation on improving long-term care services. So this is in a way a measure where the EU doesn't have core competence, but where we certainly recommend member states to invest more to ensure high quality and affordable childcare and long-term care services, again, to facilitate make it easier for women to get into paid employment. Now, turning to the third pillar, this is leading equally throughout society. Here we see, when we look at the figures, that there's still room for improvement. We have currently the situation that only 33%, so 1/3 of board members, are women. And when we look at the situations of the CEOs, it's significantly less, only 8% are women. And we have a similar picture in the area of politics. On average, only 33% of members of national parliaments are women, with big varieties on both economics and politics between member states. So it's against this backdrop that the Gender Balance Directive was adopted at the end of 2022, and it wasn't smooth sailing. I should say it actually took the EU 10 years to overcome the resistance of certain member states to adopt binding European-wide legislation in this area. The Commission had already tabled the proposal back in 2012. So on the 10th anniversary, the baby was actually born, a bit, already quite a child. Now, to start with the scope, which companies are covered by this directive? As was already mentioned, the directive applies to large EU-listed companies, so to companies that are listed on an EU stock exchange. That's the first limb of the condition. And then it excludes SMEs. So that leaves us with large companies. And as then the SME definition is in the directive. So those are companies that employ less than 250 persons and have an annual turnover not exceeding 50 million euros, or whatever the equivalent is in the currency of countries not part of the euro. Why are SMEs excluded? Well, it's a general, say, policy of EU legislation not to create too heavy administrative burden on small and medium-sized companies. So that's why very often we exclude SMEs or try to minimize the burden on them. But having said that, we expect, or we would hope, that the directive has a spillover effect, that large EU-listed companies say lead the way, and that smaller companies, they implement the provisions of the directive on a voluntary basis. Also because research has shown that gender balance in companies is actually good for productivity and growth. So it's also in the company's own interest to get more diversity into their boards and their staff. Now, and how does the directive now work? There are a number of myths surrounding that directive. And I will try to bust some of them. Now, what the directive does, it sets targets for the underrepresented sex. Important to clarify, in practice, this will be for women, but not necessarily. If you have an all-female company, they would actually have to include 40% of men in their non-executive boards, or that's the alternative target, 33 in the executive boards of all directors. Now, if the targets are not reached by December, and the deadline is December 2026, the company will have to implement an objective and merit-based selection procedure for their staff. For their board members. And for that, the directive sets out detailed provisions, which basically ensure that, there is a selection, an objective merit-based selection procedure for members of boards in place. So this is the sanction for not reaching the target. So the targets are not quotas where you would already sanction a company if it hasn't reached the 40% or the 33%, as the case may be. But it is, since it's only in inverted commas, a target, it is a requirement for the selection procedure that kicks in. And in addition, the companies have to report more closely about the progress they make to reach gender balance, and they have to publish this information also on their website. Now, member states can suspend the application of the directive. Well, that's a bit, meaning they can notify the Commission if they have alternate equivalent legislation in place that they don't apply the directive. And the Commission will then have to assess if the member states actually fulfill the condition. Essentially, we are talking about member states that already have rigid quotas in their legislation, and there are 7 member states where this is the case. We don't know yet if they will make use of this suspension clause, of this possibility to suspend the application of the directive, but we will know by the end of the year when they have to let us know. Now, we expect that with this new directive, it will be that the directive will help break the glass ceiling and give the many women that are qualified for the top jobs a real chance to get them. And we specifically want to tackle the lack of transparency in the selection of board members, which we consider to be an important reason for the lack of women on boards. And we also expect this to have a positive and more far-reaching effect on a company culture. meaning that that companies will have to, in order to have sufficient qualified women in the pipeline that can be appointed as board members, they will have to make sure that throughout their staff there is they engage more women and that they bring them up to the leadership positions, because otherwise it's not possible to meet the target. We are well aware that this is challenging in some sectors, for example, engineering, but also in the area of finance. But there are examples of companies that have managed to attract female talent. And with this directive, which is really takes really well, you know, quite a soft approach in comparison to the rigid quotas that are in place in some member states, we think it is this is a good start and a reasonable start to start breaking the vicious circle, or to start a virtuous circle, meaning that there are more women in the companies which are currently male dominated, that younger women, young professionals see female role models, and that in that sense it makes it easier for them to aspire to the top positions. Now, I'm happy to answer more questions on the directive in the Q&A, which we still have. But let me end, just with a word on the other aspect of women in leadership, meaning women in politics. Here, the EU has limited competence to interfere or prescribe quotas or targets to a national level or to parties. But with the European elections now around the corner, there is a lot of attention on the issue of entry barriers to politics, and also on the problem of retaining women in politics. I mentioned that the average is that there are 33% of female parliamentarians, but we have significant variation among member states. Only 6 member states achieve gender balance meaning 40% of women, while there are 7 on the lower end of the scale where women don't even make up 25% of the members of parliament. So there's a lot of room, say, for future, for improvement in this area, and this is certainly one of the big construction sites where we will work on in the next mandate to move gender equality forward. So with that, thank you very much for your attention, and as said, I am happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Katja. It was a very nice overview, very needed, and it's nice to see that despite the limited competence of the EU on this matter, there's still a lot that is done to change the whole ecosystem, as you said, with like the work-life balance, the childcare strategy, but also like in employment and in businesses, and in achieving letting the underrepresented sex to achieve this position of higher position. Is there any questions or any comments on this presentation? You can raise your hand. There will also be a Q&A at the end, but I don't see anything. I don't see anyone raising their hand. Okay. Well, thank you very much. I very much hope that of that spillover effect that you mentioned. Indeed, like most of the cooperatives across Europe tend to be small, not all of them, but they tend to be excluded from that directive. But that doesn't mean that we cannot do anything, as Katja, our vice president, said at the beginning. And we are then moving on to our panel session to discuss about how the cooperative movement and other organizations outside of the cooperative movement are doing something and actively trying to change the matter. So we're moving to our panel session, and thank you very much, Katia. And we have in this panel session 3 great speakers that I want to welcome here. We have Annalisa Casino, we have Maria Uchoval, and then we have Marina Rosdik. Thank you for the 3 of you to be here today. I'm gonna start with Annalisa, if that's fine with you. So Annalisa Casino, you are president of the Equal Opportunity Committee of Lega Cup since 2019. And you're the co-president of the Gender Equality Committee of the Italian Cooperative Alliance. So welcome. You also have your own, sorry, I forgot to mention, you also have your own cooperative, Etiquette Stewardship in Action. That's also very important. So you are here to present a little bit the Italian experience when it comes to certification. But as the first question, maybe, could you just present yourself, even though I have done it, but could you present a little bit the committee that you are part of in Alleanza, its work, and why the committee was created, what obstacles women cooperators faced to reach a leadership position in Italy?
Okay, so thank you very much, Matilde, and good morning to all of you. Today I'm speaking in my role of as co-president of Gender Equality Committee of Italian Cooperatives Alliance, as you already says, and on behalf of my colleagues Alessandra Rinaldi, who is also the president of Gender Equality Committee of Conf Cooperative, and Alessia Stabile, who is also president of Gender Equality Committee of AGC. So thank you also to my colleagues for being here today with you. The Gender Equality Committee of Italian Cooperatives Alliance was established on June 16 in 2016 in Rome during a fundamental moment in the founding path of the Italian Cooperative Alliance, which considered gender balance policies a strategic driver of a new organization. And so the GEC aimed to enhance and develop the work of the 3 pre-existing equality bodies into direction, most of all, promoting policies and tools for work-life balance and supporting female career path and for the balance of gender in governance. Through the GEC, the Alliance of Cooperatives called upon women in cooperation to help it and imagine a new and increasingly open participatory welfare system and innovative ideas to improve and increase women's participation in the workforce. In consideration of this mandate, the GEC of Italian Cooperatives Alliance acts as political representative in governmental and institutional bodies and bringing the demands of the world of female cooperation. Also, for this reason, we participate and intervene in institutional tables in which female entrepreneurship, welfare, equal pay, and other subjects are discussed. And we also organize initiatives for Gender Equality Committee members to inform them and to discuss with them to the main issues of equal opportunities.
Amazing. It's good to see that things are moving and like getting organized and giving importance. And so I believe that you're here to present also the certification schemes that has been established in Italy as one of like the many good practices that we're gonna hear in this panel. So the floor is yours. Can you present that schemes?
Okay, of course.
Great.
First of all, I'm also glad to inform you that our committee organized a webinar specific on gender certification schemes on February 2024, and in partnership with Union Camere to inform and involve cooperatives in the certification process. The gender equality certification system is an interventional of the National Recovery Resilience Plan, PNRR, under the Department of Equal Opportunity of the President of the Council of Ministry here in Italy, and opens a new window aimed to accompany and encouraging businesses to adopt adequate policies to reduce the gender gap in all the most critical areas for the professional growth of a woman. And the gender equality certification also is known in Italy as Uni PDR 125 2022, and aim to foster inclusion of women in the labor market. This is an essential tool for improving social and territorial cohesion, as well as of fundamental importance of the economic growth of our country. As I already says, this scheme was introduced by PNRL and was regulated by the law number 162 of the 2021, named Gribaudo Law. And this gender equality certification system also has the objective to ensure high equality of female work, to promoting transparency on work processes in companies, and also to reducing the gender pay gap. So the gender salary, which indicates the difference between the average annual salary received by women and that received by men. Also, this scheme increasing growth opportunities in the company and protecting maternity. This scheme was made up of some performance indicator, KPI, and as 6 evaluation areas that are identified for different variables. For example, the first one is culture and strategy. The second one is focalized on governance. The third one is focalized on HR processes. And then there is the opportunities for growth and inclusion of women in the company area, and this is most important, because as you know, we need to do a lot of things about the growth and the inclusion of women in company. There are 2 areas, and the number 5 is named remuneration equity by gender, and the other area is protection of parenthood and work-life balance, another area that is very important, because we also need to work on work-life balance, most of all after COVID period. We try to do this. all the cooperatives and organizations that work on certification, gender certification, had to work on his maturity, is called like this, because the organization's levels of maturity is assessed through an annual monitoring and a check carried out every 2 years. So the companies and the cooperatives needs to also manage this system and to work on it, not only to have the certification, but also to improve their performance year by year. Gender certifications also offer some benefits for the organization that obtain it, and the most important benefits over the reputation is a contribution relief of up to 50,000 euros per year, and a review score for granting of state aid and or public funding in general, and exemption from the payment of social security contribution in amount not exceeded in 1%, up to maximum to 5,000 euros per year. And so, as you can imagine, this certification is very important because cooperatives also have some benefit, most of all for women empowerment, but also as organization, and could be very useful for all the system. I don't know if I answered to your question. I hope so.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. And it's good to also see that despite the mentalities that it's changing, mentality itself like cannot be used. And so it's important to give some incentives. And as you said, like this maybe contribution relief, the social security contribution, the state aid, reputation as well. There needs to also be some incentives sometimes. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Silvia.
Yeah. I have questions, but like I will leave them for afters, so that everyone also can answer and then ask their own questions. Now we'll go to our second panelists, Maria Uchoval. I'm sorry, I just butchered your name. Sorry.
It's all right.
Maria, you are a member of Les Ailes de la COP, which is a French network of women cooperative board members who are trying to inspire leadership among women farmers. So it's in the agriculture sector in France. And you are also a board member of your own, your co-op, the Co-op Even, which was born in Brittany originally, I think. So the kind of like the same question to you. Can you present Les Ailes de la COP, the network, why the group was created, what obstacles women face in the agri-sector, at least in France? And then the second question will be more about the actions, but maybe the first one, the presentation.
Yes, okay. Good morning, everybody. I'm very nice to be with you, and I'm very glad to present the group of which I am a member of. The group was created in 2018 as an initiative of the Cooperation Agricole France in Paris, as you has told already. Then they invited all female members, board members, and we started a group with 10 female farmers, all engaged in their local board of directors of their local cooperation. From that very first day, everybody felt comfortable. It was a great pleasure. There was a great atmosphere. We were exchanging about our experiences, and there was a shared motivation to stand up for female farmers. The group is based and like to work on the values of diversity, sharing, openness, and being active. Our goal is to raise awareness of the benefits of diversity and to enable more women, not only on the board of directors of their cooperatives, but also to help them to go through the glass ceiling. Words such as president or chairman are still very male words, but women can fulfill these roles too. You asked me the obstacles that women face to reach leadership. The agriculture world has always been a stereotypical men world. I can give you an example. If you put in Google farmer, they will list you a lot of pictures of tough men with big tractors. If you put in the Google search machine female farmer, they will list you a lot of women with young animals and doing manual work in the fields. So there's still a lot of work to do. But on more personal scale, many women struggle to speak in public. At meetings or conferences, they don't dare, or they have a lack of self-confidence. But we want to hear their voices also, and of course, their opinion. Finally, young, ambitious women are also a little bit limited because they have often children, so they are a little bit less available. So I hope I have answered your question.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And this is what we were talking about, like trying to change like the whole ecosystem. If you don't change life balance, if you don't make it easier or more accessible for women,
yes,
they will not. Yeah. So it's not just about the numbers of women, it's like about making it easier. Yeah, absolutely. And I found a number which really struck me. 25% of farmers are women in France.
Yes.
Yet only 9% of board members are women. So that's really in that sector. It's really, really little. So with Les Ailes de la COP, what good practices, what measures are you carrying with that club and network? What have you been doing?
The number is going up a little bit. We are at 10% nowadays. So
improvement, but still not enough.
But first of all members, we have been trained on speaking in public, how to work on our self-confidence, and have received media training. After that, the COVID was installed, so we kept in touch through video calling during that period. And during that period, the idea was born to build a guide, a manual with tips and examples for board of directors, or how to attract more female candidates. We finished this manual in 2021 and organized a webinar in the year 2022 to present it. That webinar that attracted about 400 people, and afterwards we were invited by various cooperatives for a presentation at their board. Furthermore, Muriel, our spokesman, or I have to say spokeswoman, has been invited to take place in the monthly meetings of the National Board of Directors of the Cooperation Agricole. So now our group is gained national attention, and little by little we are able to share our message. This year we decided to increase our network, and we have started to work by a training subsidized by the government, by a government fund for agriculture innovation and development. And this group consists of 10 women who are matched with 10 male board members, allowing them to coach each other, to learn from each other's experiences. And the goal is to improve together. All of this in the spirit of cooperation, to improve together, to work together, to share. And we believe that the gender balance in the boards is an additional richness. And we are very motivated to work on it, to continue.
That's amazing. Great job. And it's good to see that a group that started initially locally or with like a couple of members is now getting a lot of importance, and now working with the national Apex organization and doing training. They're subsidized. So so no, it's a very inspiring, and we need more of this in all the sectors, in all the
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's yeah, I will summarize like all the good practices that we've talked about, but a manual training, all of this, it's very tangible as well. And now I'm moving to our last panelist, Mrs. Marina Rodzik. Thank you for being with us today. You are the Secretary General of the Croatian Chamber of Economy, and you're also the chair of the Eurochambers Women's Network. So you also led position in the offices of the government of Croatia, particularly the Ministry of Foreign Affairs as well. So this is more like political role as well. Can you maybe present a little bit as well the Eurochambers Network, the Eurochambers Women's Network, and a little bit again the same question: why this group was created? In your experience, what were the obstacles that women faced to reach leadership position, but also in business, and also you have also a political aspect, so you can share with us. Yes, the floor is yours.
Yes, of course. Good morning to everybody, and thank you for invitation. It was great to hear from Ms. Annalisa and Maria all these initiatives that we have. I'm familiar with Union Camera initiatives about the gender certification, but I can talk about that later. First of all, Eurochambers Women Network. It's a pan-European women chamber network. Maybe the best description is a platform that serves us to share the knowledge, initiatives, events, and most of all for networking, to create new connections and to get the support as entrepreneurs. Why? We created this because all the women constitute more than a half population of European Union. We represent only a little bit less of 35% of the EU self-employed women, and around 30% of the startup entrepreneurs. Our potential is much bigger. And the reason why we created this platform is to unleash this potential in the source of the economic growth and the job creation. The aim of our network is to contribute to this potential and to give a stronger voice as a woman entrepreneurs. Our areas of activity is to identify the challenge that women entrepreneurs face and to create and develop concrete suggestions how to overcome them, disseminating good practice, sharing success stories, discussing relevant policy developments, especially about directives on the gender equality and the wage gap, and the networking, of course. Last year, we started with the survey, which gave us a complete picture of the female entrepreneurship, from the skills to work-life balance, sustainability, digitalization, and of course also about the obstacles. The answer in this survey mirrored the general trend of enterprise in Europe. Unfortunately, one of the main obstacles faced in running business seems to be linked to liquidity problems and access to finance. The survey confirms that we are still facing a gender gap and that in the entrepreneurship, gender still matters. A significant number of our participants answer that they consider if they would be much easier for them if they are male, not a female. Also, we still have underrepresentation of women in business. The first reason is a male-dominated industry, and the second is, and maybe the most important, is a little encouragement given to women to take leadership responsibility. And the third reason is the work-life balance. On the other side, companies led by the woman has much better result in the ESG, in the sustainable and digital transition. In the last 5 years, the biggest raise of women in management position in the EU is visible in Austria, roughly 40% increase. Czechia is the second. In Croatia, we don't have a very good result, which is also the reason why we need to have more action. And maybe I can continue with the second question about the action, what we are doing. We try to raise awareness about the importance of this question. How? By organizing panels, events to highlight the importance, and lately adopt legislative framework to recently laws and directives by the European Parliament about gender representation, gender pay gap, go hand by hand with our aim. We are trying to find and promote role models of businesswomen and women leaders and the company with these goals. I know this director's goals just now for the listed, for the big companies, and in some state with state-owned companies. But the idea is to promote, to discover these role models and to promote them. So it's not, I don't know, it's not some horror role model, it's a normal role model. I mean, we have our chamber network, which is great infrastructure to do this. And this is kind of tool that we are offering to our members to deal with. In Croatia, exactly, we have a kind of ESG academy that we are preparing our members for non-financing reporting and acknowledgement of the importance of all the UN goals, among which is gender parity also. We organize panels, events to highlight the importance of gender parity. We did it last year together with the Union Camera, this year with the Union Camera and Austrian Chamber, and together with our big listed company, and try to raise awareness about this issue. Also, a very important issue is wage gap that we have. As we heard on the beginning, it's like 13% in EU. In Croatia, it's slightly smaller. It's around 11%. And it's also important that about 47% of companies with a share of women on management boards of more than 50% have above average of ESG results. We have very significant number in workforce. So it's very important to include all the women in the workforce, especially now when we all have a problem with the labor shortage in European Union. I know that to do this, it's more than just break a seal, help me.
The glass ceiling.
Glass seal, because you have much more challenge. And even when you broke a glass seal, but the thing is that if we do this, we are going to have better results in our pension system, better results in our BDP. I mean, we have a great example in Austria. They already do have more than 40% of women in the management boards. And they started with this kind of campaign just 10 years ago. So we can change things. We just need to do some action. All of this legislative framework is great, but the main goal is actually to change the mindset. The mindset in the companies that the women are capable of leading the companies, no matter if they are mother or they are not mother. I mean, we are capable. So we need more encouragement. We need more education. And perhaps also the good thing is now when we do have these directives, that we create kind of base of the woman who is capable to do the role in the supervisory boards. So whenever you have a question about maybe I would like to include some women in supervisory boards, it's not just a matter of quota. It could be potential to change something. And we can't see a quota just as a quota. We need to see them as a tool. I know it's not very excellent tool, but I think now is the only one tool that we have it. I'm here for the questions, of course.
Thank you. You answered like the two questions in one, and I totally agree with you. It's all about mixing the tools that we have. It's about changing the mentality, but that takes a while. So we also have legislative tools, political tools. So mixing these two is going to make things improve and move forward. And in what you said, three things like stayed in my mind and stood up. It's the success stories. So the importance of representation. We always say, and that's something that we hear quite a lot, but representation matters. So we need to have representation of women in this leadership position. Because if you don't see them, well, you're not going to think that you can do it as well. The access to finance, and this is a question of credibility. Women are credible, whether you said they have children, whether they're not, whether they already have a business, whether they're not. But this is not, maybe not like, how to say, like it hasn't reached everyone's mind yet. And you mentioned the ESG. your ESG Academy, and so ESG is like economic, social, and governance. And this is something that it's important to think about it. It's an approach where you obviously you work on economic, social, and governance criteria together. At EU level, for example, this is something that the Commission is working on. And it's good because we need to mainstream gender equality in all the spheres. Usually gender equality, from what I've seen so far, is very categorized in a box of like women related thing, gender equality. But the goal is not to treat gender equality in a silo. The goal is to mainstream the whole gender equality aspect in all the policies. So we need to have this like the gender equality aspect in the governance, but also in the social criteria, to also make sure that it's also, I mean, included some part of the economic part, but the mainstreaming is important so that we're not only talking to women, for women, in a bubble of women, but we also like widen a little bit. Thank you very much. There was a lot that was said, a lot of like good practices, a lot of like actions. Is there any questions for our panelists, for our 4 speakers today? This is the floor to you. I leave the floor to you. Don't be shy. Let me check if there's any hand raised. No? Okay, well, I have some questions. I mean, at least I have one question for Annalisa. You mentioned, so you presented that certification process. Who is doing the checks, for example? You mentioned there's a certification check every 2 years. Who is doing that check, for example?
This check was doing by certification bodies, and certification bodies has to be accredited to Accredia, that is another organism here in Italy. And this is the guarantee of the fact that all the certification are accredited. Because as you know, the world of certification could be very various and different, and the Unioncamere, that is the organism that work on this certification, wants to have all the certification accredited, and so organization bodies and certification bodies are all accredited.
Okay.
Are different. I don't know if you like to know some name, but are different. The most important, because known all over the world, is RINA or Bureau Veritas. A lot of different kind of certification body.
Okay, good. It was just for me, it was like I wrote down this little question. And there was, you mentioned also a webinar in 2024 in February.
Yes.
So this is for all our speakers and panelists. We can share to all the participants any recordings or any report or anything that you would like to share with all the speakers. So like with with your webinar, Annalisa, but also Maria, if you want to share any report or anything or news from Les Ailes de la COP. And this also works for you as well, Marina, if you want to share anything with any news that your chamber's network has done.
Of course, we had this webinar, and I share with you our program was very important because we had the opportunity to talk with the DINTEC is another organization of Union Camere, and all cooperatives that are that participate to our webinar had the opportunity to have some questions and answer, and also as Gender Equality Committee of Alleanza of Cooperative Italian, we share some best practice of our work from our central, so from Legaco, from Cooperative, and all the cooperatives that we invite was very interested. Also, almost 200 cooperatives participate to the webinar.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And the same thing goes to Maria as well. You mentioned a manual,
Yes.
a toolkit as well. So we'd be very interested to have this, and if you can share it with us, and then we can share it with all the participants. Yes, for that you will.
Yes.
Amazing.
If you want, you can find it on YouTube. If
Yeah.
you put in Les L de la COP,
Mm-hmm.
find the manual
Amazing.
over there. Yes.
Okay. Amazing.
It's
So
it's just not in English. It's in French, but it's not very complicated.
there are amazing tools nowadays to
Yes,
translate.
yes,
So
yes.
that's fine. And also this is a call as well to Marina, that because you mentioned these like events, these panels. There are chambers of commerce and chambers of economy in all countries as well. So this so this is a call to everyone that if you're interested as well, it's maybe a good call to wave at the Chamber of Economy of their own country, and it would be interesting to have like an event, a panel on that topic. And it's good to know that the network is working on that, so that there's always like someone to reach.
Yes, of course. When we will plan to organize another panel or roundtable, definitely you are more than welcome to join us. And maybe for the participants, the most interesting will be the results of the survey. We did it last year to see complete picture of the female entrepreneurship. We can share with you. So I can send you, it's not something that we can share just on the screen now. I can send you, and then you can send it to all the participants.
Absolutely. I will do a global email after with all the resources and all the links, and because I think everyone is very interested, and sometimes it's hard to find all the information. There's so much going on that we miss. All right. If there are no more questions, maybe I can give back the floor to Katja for the closing. If there is no more question, it's your last chance. That means we were very clear, and all the speakers and the panels were very clear. So that's a great news.
Yeah. Really, thank you for this webinar today. And I think that in this case, we really make really concrete the fact that Cooperatives Europe can be for us also a workspace where we can share and try to exchange tools and do something more than yesterday to reach these results. So you all spoke about different tools and different kind of actions that should be mixed to reach some results, make of cultural aspects, organizational aspects, and also sometimes some obligations or incentives. So probably what we can do as an association of Cooperation Europe is to facilitate the exchange and the learning of these tools and these instruments that we can make available. So please send us what you consider useful to share, because maybe it can be really useful for other members that are working, trying to improve gender equality in boards, and also to improve their ability to support, to guide this kind of change. So thank you. And if some of you have some question also after the closure of this workshop, for sure can easily reach Mathilde or me, and we can for sure provide our materials and contacts that can be useful. So I really would like to thank you, all you speakers and all participants for this very, very interesting moment. See you.
Bye-bye, and thank to you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Ciao. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.